Baba Vanga's final message about the collapse of modern society: the time has come. The towers didn't crumble, the streets didn't riot. There were no flashes in the sky, no thunder from the heavens. But something shifted quietly, deeply, beneath the surface of our fast-moving world. Like a thread pulled too tight in the fabric of time, something has begun to unravel. A whisper, once lost in the silence, is now rising. And it comes from a woman who saw the world not with eyes, but with something far older and far more ancient. Her name is Baba Vanga. Her final message, it wasn't about nations colliding or viruses sweeping the globe. It wasn't even about power or money. It was about us. About this age of convenience, distraction, and digital illusions. It was about the breaking point tone we may already have crossed. Before we walk deeper into this prophecy, before we trace the signs she left behind, make sure to like this video, subscribe to The Journey of Wisdom, and share it with someone who senses that something in the world just isn't right. Because what we're about to reveal may shift how you see not just the future, but the fragile present we're living in right now. And if you believe in uncovering forgotten truths, ancient insights, and wisdom others are afraid to explore, consider becoming a supporter of this channel. It helps us stay independent, honest, and connected to something deeper. Now, take a breath. Slow your mind. Let's step into the unknown together. Number 1. Who was Baba Vanga? Baba Vanga, born in 1911 in a small village that was then part of the Ottoman Empire, began her life like any other ordinary child, humble, poor, and grounded in the daily rhythms of survival. No one could have guessed that this quiet girl, doing chores and living a simple life, would become one of the most enigmatic figures of the 20th century. But life has a mysterious way of choosing its messengers. At the age of 12, an unexpected and violent storm struck her village. In the chaos, Baba Vanga was swept up by the winds, hurled into a field, and left barely alive. When her family finally found her days later, her eyes were swollen shut, caked with dirt and dried tears. She had gone blind. But that wasn't the only thing that had changed. Something had awakened within her. From that moment forward, she began to speak of things she couldn't possibly know. Future events, faraway lands, tragedies that had yet to unfold. Her words were strange and unsettling, but they carried a weight that couldn't be ignored. What followed was a lifetime of extraordinary predictions that drew both awe and skepticism. She spoke of the fall of the Soviet Union long before its collapse. She described the tragic events of the 11th of September with eerie detail. She warned about the Fukushima nuclear disaster years in advance, and spoke of the Kursk submarine tragedy as if she were there. People from across the Balkan sand, eventually the world sought her wisdom. Some believed she had been chosen by fate, others thought it was all coincidence, and a few dismissed her entirely. But no matter what people believed, they kept coming back. Her insights stirred something deep in those who listened, a sense that the world was not as random as it seemed. In today's fast-paced, disconnected world, stories like Baba Vanga's remind us of something we often forget: the importance of listening not just to noise, but to silence, to intuition, to voices outside the mainstream. Whether or not you believe in her powers, there's something powerful in the way she encouraged people to pause, reflect, and consider the direction society is heading. In her cryptic and often unsettling warnings, she spoke about more than just political upheaval or natural disasters. She hinted at a deeper kind of collapse, the kind that begins in the human heart when compassion fades, when greed takes over, when we disconnect from nature and each other. And that is perhaps where her greatest message lies, not in the accuracy of her predictions, but in the wake-up call they represent. As we reflect on Baba Vanga's story, let it serve as a gentle but urgent reminder to each of us. Are we paying attention to the signs around us, not supernatural ones, but the very real signals in our society? Rising anxiety, environmental decay, economic stress, social division, these aren't random. They are symptoms of a deeper imbalance. Her life may have been steeped in mystery, but her message calls us back to something very real, our shared responsibility to care for one another, to live with kindness, and to move forward not in fear, but in awareness. In a world that often feels out of control, the most radical thing we can do is to ground ourselves in mindfulness and compassion. Baba Vanga's legacy, whether seen as prophetic or poetic, invites us to do just that. Number 2. Her final and most cryptic prophecy. Let's take a moment to reflect on one of the most chilling and mysterious messages left by Baba Vanga, often referred to as her final and most cryptic prophecy. These words, whispered as if from a place beyond time, still echo with eerie relevance today. The world will wear a crown of glass, but it will crack not from outside. The metal veins will fail, the sky will flicker like a broken mirror, and people will stop feeling. At first glance, it might sound like poetic doom, but when we look closer, we begin to see something far more profounder reflection, not just of what may come, but of what already surrounds us. That crown of glass likely symbolizes the modern world we live in, one crowned by glowing screens, endless digital connections, satellites circling above, and technology that now rules our lives. But Vanga warns, the crack won't come from outside. No external enemy or natural disaster will shatter this glass crown. Instead, it will crack from within, meaning that the collapse we fear may not be caused by war or climate alone, but by something deeper, something hidden inside our very culture, our hearts, our systems. Now think about the phrase, the metal veins will fail. Doesn't that sound like a warning about the collapse of the very infrastructure that keeps our world running? From the power grids that light up our nights to the internet that connects our minds and the global trade routes that fuel our economies, these are the metal veins of modern society. If they fail, our daily lives would be thrown into chaos. No messages sent, no power, no transport, no supplies. What would happen if the systems we rely on every single day simply stopped working? And what about the sky will flicker like a broken mirror? This could speak of our overstimulated skies filled with satellites, surveillance drones, artificial lighting, and electromagnetic waves. It paints a picture of a sky that no longer gives us peace, but rather one that reflects our fractured relationship with nature, our constant watching and being watched, and the overwhelming presence of man-made systems above us. Then comes perhaps the most haunting line, and people will stop feeling. This is where the prophecy becomes personal. It suggests not just a technological breakdown, but a spiritual one. We might survive in a world where the internet is slow or the lights go out. But what happens in a world where empathy vanishes, where people no longer feel joy, sorrow, love, or compassion? A society where numbness replaces connection and apathy becomes the norm. Can that truly be called living? So, I ask you, have you ever felt like the more connected we become, the more alone we feel? Do you ever look at the glowing screen in your hand and wonder if it's helping you feel more human or quietly stealing away your ability to truly feel? When Baba Vanga says people will stop feeling, she could be pointing to the epidemic of emotional disconnection we're already seeing. Rising anxiety, depression, loneliness, the loss of real conversation, and the growing divide between heart and mind. In the race to advance, are we losing what makes us most human? And if so, how do we return to it? This is not a prophecy meant to scare, but a prophecy meant to wake us up. It invites each of us to look within and ask, am I still truly feeling? Am I present with others? Am I nurturing love, kindness, and compassion in a world that often encourages speed, distraction, and detachment. As we consider Baba Vanga's final message, let it be a gentle call back to what matters. Yes, our world is advancing rapidly. Yes, technology can be a tool for good. But without heart, without human connection, without empathy, we risk building a future that is efficient but empty. This is a reminder to slow down, to reconnect with each other, to spend more time in nature, to put our phones down and listen, really listen, to the people around us. It's a call to feel again, to cry, to laugh, to hold hands, to tell the truth, to care deeply. Because that is how we resist the cracking of the crown. That is how we protect the soul of our society. So the next time you feel overwhelmed by the speed of the world or numb from all the noise, ask yourself, what am I truly feeling? Who am I truly connecting with? And what can I do right now to bring more presence and compassion into my life? The lesson here is clear. Technology may shape our world, but it is our hearts that shape our future. Emotional connection, kindness, and awareness are not luxuries. They are survival skills in the age to come. Baba Vanga's prophecy is not just about what might happen, it's about what is already happening. And it's asking us, gently but firmly, will you wake up before the crown breaks? Will you feel again before it's too late? Number 3. Modern symptoms of collapse. Today, many of us live in a world that feels more connected than ever. Yet beneath the surface, there's a quiet, growing, uneasier sense that something fundamental is slipping. Baba Vanga, the mystic who spoke in riddles yet warned with clarity, pointed toward this age, calling out the signs of collapse that now echo through our modern lives. At the heart of it is technological fragility, a condition we rarely notice until systems fail. The Facebook outage of 2021 may have seemed like just a digital hiccup, but it was a glimpse into our heavy dependence on platforms that hold so much of our communication, identity, and even business dealings. More concerning was the power grid failure in Texas during the winter of 2022, where thousands suffered in the cold due to infrastructure built for profit rather than resilience. These moments remind us that our systems are delicate threads, interconnected, overstretched, and deeply vulnerable. We depend on global supply chains for everything from food to medicine, yet a single disruption, whether it's a blocked shipping route or geopolitical tension, can send ripples that turn into waves. Baba Vanga's warning wasn't about abandoning progress, but recognizing that when we build convenience without caution, we invite collapse disguised as comfort. But perhaps even more alarming than physical infrastructure is the collapse happening inside our hearts. Emotional desensitization has crept in slowly. With every tragedy we scroll past on our phones, images of war, disasters, and suffering, we become a little more numb. What once broke our hearts now barely makes us pause. Media, both social and traditional, bombards us constantly, and in this overstimulation, our compassion begins to dry up. It's not that we don't care, but that we are overwhelmed. Add to this the rise of artificial intelligence and automation, which, though efficient, gradually separates us from the essence of being human. Machines don't feel, and when we live by their rhythm, we risk forgetting how to feel ourselves. Jobs that once gave people purpose are being replaced, and with it, a sense of usefulness fades. This isn't just a technological shift, it's a spiritual one. Baba Vanga's visions suggested that we would lose touch not only with each other, but with meaning itself. And indeed, many today feel that emptiness, going through the motions, unsure of why, scrolling endlessly to escape the stillness that reminds them something's missing. So what can we do? Begin with slowing down. Seek connection not just online but in person. Say kind words, touch lives, and don't let your heart grow cold in the face of too much noise. Then comes the hidden net surveillance culture, a truth we now live with but rarely confront. Every device in our pocket watches, listens, and collects. We carry tracking systems willingly, exchanging our privacy for convenience. Baba Vanga's phrase, "The sky will become a net," might once have seemed poetic, but today it feels prophetic. Satellites and drones scan the earth, cameras line our streets, and even our smart home devices report our habits back to faceless corporations. We often say, "I have nothing to hide," but what we forget is that being watched changes behavior, and over time, it can change who we are. Freedom is not only the right to speak, but also the right to be unseen, to be still, to be with our thoughts without interference. As society becomes more digitized, we must ask ourselves if we are giving away the very soul of human dignity. In the name of safety, we may be stepping into a cage of our own making. The solution isn't to retreat into fear or paranoia, but to become conscious, to reclaim awareness. Limit how much you let technology watch and dictate your life. Be mindful of your digital footprint. And most of all, recognize that true freedom starts from within. It is the freedom to choose love over fear, presence over distraction, truth over convenience. So when we look at these signs-fragile systems, emotional numbness and silent surveillance, we begin to see not doom, but a call to awaken. The collapse Baba Vanga spoke of is not just external, it is deeply internal. And while the warnings are real, so too is our ability to respond with wisdom. In this time, we are asked not just to survive, but to see clearly and live deeply. What matters now is not how much we consume, but how much we care. Not how fast we live, but how present we are. The time has come, yes, but not only for collapse. It's time for reflection, for remembering who we are beneath the layers of noise and machines. And from that remembering, we can begin to rebuild not just a better world, but a better way of being. Let this message be a quiet bell in your heart. Listen closely. The world is changing, but so can we. If you've watched up to this point, you're already opening your eyes to the truth behind Baba Vanga's final warning about the collapse of modern society. Comment below with "awakened mind" to show you're ready to face what's coming with clarity and courage. Don't go anywhere. There's still powerful insight ahead that could change how you see the world. Stay until the end to discover what you need to know to prepare your spirit and your life for what lies ahead. Number 4. A deeper layer. Rebirth through collapse. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like the world around you is moving too fast, too loud, and too far from what truly matters? If so, you're not alone. Many of us are sensing a shift, a disturbance in the rhythm of modern life that goes beyond politics, technology, or the economy. It's something deeper, something stirring at the level of our collective soul. That's why today, I want to share with you a powerful and thought-provoking message, one that comes from the mysterious seer Baba Vanga, whose final words echo like a whisper from the future. She spoke not just of destruction, but of transformation. She said, "The storm is not coming to destroy you, it is coming to reveal you." Let that sink in for a moment. What if what we fear as collapse is not the end, but the beginning of something more real, more grounded, more human? You see, collapse doesn't have to mean chaos. It might just be the great unmasking, the peeling away of illusions. We live in a world built on endless consumption, disconnection from nature, and the worship of speed and convenience. But beneath all that noise, something ancient is trying to re-emerge. Baba Vanga's words invite us to see collapse not as punishment, but as a moment of spiritual awakening, a necessary shedding of layers, so we can return to what we've forgotten. Can we imagine that the crumbling of modern systems might open the door to something wiser? Could this be the moment we remember how to live in harmony with the earth, with each other, and with ourselves? Think about it. When the power goes out, we remember the stars. When the internet is down, we talk to each other. When the systems we rely on falter, we start asking questions we had long ignored. Who am I without my job title? What does it mean to live well? Where do I belong? These are the seeds of transformation. This is where rebirth begins. Baba Vanga's message is not a warning, it's an invitation. She saw that through collapse, we might finally rediscover values that modern society has buried under layers of distraction and greed. Values like mindfulness, where we slow down enough to notice the moment we're in. Sustainability, where we live not for excess, but for balance. And community, where we remember that we are never truly alone. So ask yourself, what parts of your life feel artificial, strained, or unsustainable? If everything fell apart tomorrow, what would truly matter to you? Would it be your possessions, your followers, or your inner peace? The collapse she spoke of may not come in the form of fire or war, it may arrive as a quiet unraveling, a moment when the old ways simply stop working, and we are called to create something new. Are we ready to listen to that call? Are we willing to let go of what is comfortable in order to step into what is meaningful? Baba Vanga wasn't just predicting doom, she was revealing a deeper truth, that sometimes the greatest growth comes from breaking open, that we, as a society, may need to lose our way in order to find our path again. This is not a story of fear, it's a story of courage. It's about returning to the wisdom that has always been within us, the rhythm of the seasons, the simplicity of presence, the power of love, and the sacredness of life. Can you feel that shift within you? That longing to reconnect with something real? So perhaps the collapse is not something to fear, but something to prepare, for not with panic, but with purpose. We prepare by becoming more conscious, more kind, more connected. We prepare by embracing simplicity, by cultivating gratitude, by building stronger communities and deeper inner lives. Maybe this is not the end of the world, but the end of a world built on illusions, making space for a new one rooted in truth. Isn't it time we chose that path, not because we're forced to, but because our hearts are calling us there? The storm, as Baba Vanga said, is not here to destroy you, it's here to reveal you. And in that revelation lies a choice to wake up, to return, to begin again. What will you choose? Number 5. Suppressed prophecies. Let's take a moment to reflect deeply on something both mysterious and unsettling: Baba Vanga's suppressed prophecies. These aren't just old whispers from a distant past. They carry a haunting relevance for the world we live in today. Baba Vanga, the blind mystic from Bulgaria, is said to have foreseen events with chilling accuracy, and among her most shadowy messages were those that never made it to the public, held back, allegedly, by Soviet and Bulgarian intelligence forces. Why would her words be hidden? What truth lies so deep that powerful institutions felt it was too dangerous for ordinary people to hear? When we pause and listen closely to her warnings, we begin to see a picture of our world that is both startling and painfully familiar. She spoke of false leaders wearing masks of faces, a poetic yet piercing way to describe those in power who appear noble and trustworthy on the outside, but are controlled or manipulated from behind the scenes. It raises a question we all must ask ourselves: how much of what we see is real, and how much is carefully curated illusion? And then there is her warning that truth will become dangerous. Can you feel how true that feels in today's world? In an age of social media and mass information, truth is not just contested, it is punished. People who speak out, who raise their voices against injustice, corruption, or deceit, often find themselves censored, ridiculed, or even cast out. We've entered an era where the more honest you are, the more you risk losing everything. Doesn't that sound like exactly what Baba Vanga was trying to warn us about? She wasn't predicting just for the sake of predicting. Her prophecies were like messages in a bottle, sent across time to wake us up, to challenge us to stay awake in a world that wants us to close our eyes. Perhaps most unsettling is her vision of a surveillance-dominated future, where freedom is traded for the illusion of safety. We live now in cities where cameras follow us, smartphones track us, and algorithms know our desires before we even speak them aloud. This was once the stuff of science fiction, but now it's everyday life. Baba Vanga saw this coming, not just the technology, but the control behind it. Control masked as progress, she hinted. Let that settle in. Are we progressing? Or are we simply becoming more comfortable with being watched, monitored, and guided not by wisdom, but by invisible hands with unclear intentions? The most eerie part is this. Why were these particular prophecies suppressed? What did governments fear about her messages? It wasn't explosions or natural disasters, it was truth. A truth that might inspire rebellion, critical thinking, or even mass awakening. When people begin to question their leaders, their systems, and the narratives fed to them daily, power begins to tremble. So instead of confronting the truth, it was easier for those in charge to hide it, bury it, pretend it was never spoken. But can truth really be buried forever? Or does it, like a seed planted deep in the soil, eventually grow into something that cannot be ignored? Now, take a moment and reflect with me. In your life, have you ever sensed something wasn't right even when everyone around you seemed convinced it was? Have you ever felt that what you were being told didn't match what your heart or instincts whispered? That's the seed of awareness Baba Vanga wanted us to nurture. She wasn't telling us what to believe. She was inviting us to look deeper, to feel more, to trust our inner sense of clarity even in a fog of confusion. So what can we learn from this part of Baba Vanga's message? First, never underestimate the power of your own awareness. Even when truth is hidden, our intuition often senses what words cannot say. Second, be cautious of those in power who speak in polished words but act with hidden motives. The masks of faces are not just poetic, they're real. And finally, remember this. In a world where truth is dangerous, courage is sacred. Speak it gently, live it quietly, but never let it die within you. The time has come, just as she said, not to panic, not to rebel blindly, but to awaken, to open our eyes, not just to the world, but to the truths quietly waiting inside us. Are you willing to see, even when it's uncomfortable? Are you ready to hear, even if it changes everything? The journey starts not outside, but within. Number 6. The test is spiritual. Have you ever felt like the world around you is shifting, like something deeper is being tested beyond just what we see in the news or on our screens? Imagine for a moment that what we're witnessing in today's chaotic world isn't simply the collapse of systems, politics, or technology. According to the final message attributed to Baba Vanga, the real collapse isn't just societal, it's spiritual. And that's where things get truly interesting. What if this isn't just a time of crisis, but a moment of profound reckoning for the human soul? Not just a breakdown, but a wake-up call that asks us to look beyond survival and ask ourselves what it really means to live. So let me ask you directly, are you just surviving each day, or are you truly living? Baba Vanga's message is not about doom, it's about a choice, a turning point. She invites us to consider a deeper kind of endurance, one that doesn't depend on power, money, or even physical safety, but on the strength of our inner world. She warns that the ones who will truly make it through what's coming are not necessarily the smartest or the strongest, but those who remember how to feel deeply. Not just emotions in passing, but that kind of raw human feeling that reminds you you're alive. Are you still in touch with that part of yourself? She speaks of the importance of listening to silence. Now, that may sound poetic, But think about how often do you allow yourself to just be still? No phone, no distractions, no noise. Just you and the quiet. It's in that silence that we start to hear the truth that's been drowned out by the chaos of modern life. Can you still hear your own inner voice, or has it been buried under the endless noise of the outside world? And then she talks about awe. Yes, awe. When was the last time you looked at the stars, watched a sunrise, or felt the wind through the trees and just paused? That sense of wonder, of being humbled by nature, that's something we've lost in our rush to build, to buy, to become. But awe reconnects us to something timeless. It reminds us that we're not the center of everything, and that's a beautiful, necessary truth. Could it be that rediscovering awe is part of what will save us? Baba Vanga also speaks of spiritual and emotional reconnection. This isn't about religion or rituals or dogma. It's about coming back to your heart. It's about the relationships you've forgotten to nurture, the forgiveness you've been holding back, the moments of honesty you've been afraid to share. In this age of division and disconnection, maybe the real test is whether we can find our way back to one another, not just as individuals, but as a global human family. Who in your life are you overdue to reconnect with? This isn't just about surviving a collapsing world. It's about deciding what kind of world we want to create on the other side of the storm. And the truth is, the future won't be built by machines or markets, it will be built by hearts. Your heart, my heart, all of ours. So as you listen to these words, take a moment, breathe, feel. Remember that even in the darkest hour, you have a light inside you that cannot be taken. What will you choose to do with it? The fact that you're still here means you're seeking more than just answers, you're seeking truth. Baba Vanga's final prophecy isn't just a warning, it's a call to awaken. Comment, Truth Seeker, if you're ready to break free from illusions and step into awareness. Keep watching, the most important revelations are still to come. Number 7. Prophecy. They will only find mirrors. They will come for answers, but they will only find mirrors. With these haunting final words, Baba Vanga left a message, not just for her generation, but especially for our world spinning faster with technology, but sinking deeper into disconnection. At first glance, the prophecy may seem cryptic, but when held up to the lens of modern life, it becomes painfully clear. We are no longer searching for truth. We are searching for validation, for someone or something to tell us who we are, while avoiding the difficult but necessary task of self-reflection. Her message speaks to a spiritual decay, a moral fatigue where the true collapse isn't just happening around us in politics, environment, and society, but within us, in the hollowing of our values, in the echo chambers we've built to replace real community and wisdom. As the Buddha once said, you yourself must strive. The Buddhas only point the way. And in this, we begin to understand that Vanga's final message is less about doom and more about a choicer mirror held up so we can finally see ourselves clearly. This mirror she speaks of is not a punishment, but a truth teller. It shows us the internal crisis that fuels the external chaos, greed disguised as ambition, fear wearing the mask of pride, and constant distraction that prevents stillness. Our societies are suffering not just from broken systems, but from broken spirits. When we look at the rise in anxiety, division, and loneliness, we must ask not what the world is doing to us, but what we are doing to the world, what we are nurturing within ourselves. The famous Zen teacher Thich Nhat Hanh said, "The way out is in." Baba Vanga's mirror reveals that the solution is not in escaping the collapse, but in transforming how we see and live through it. In many ways, we are being invited to stop running and start looking. Throughout time, prophecies have stirred fear, but the most powerful ones stir awareness. Baba Vanga did not offer a map with steps to avoid collapse. Instead, She gave us a reflection zone that forces us to examine our relationship with consumption, ego, and our disconnection from nature. We're living in an age where material wealth has peaked, yet inner peace feels more out of reach than ever. This is not a coincidence. The prophecy reminds us that without soul-searching, all attempts at saving the world will be like chasing shadows. Peace comes from within. Do not seek it without, the Buddha taught. In this context, the mirrors are not a dead end, they are a gateway. They show us that the world's healing begins with our own. The collapse, then, is not a single event. It's a gradual erosiona, subtle but persistent forgetting of what truly matters. It's when families stop talking, when neighbors become strangers, when personal gain outweighs community well-being. Vanga's vision urges us to see these small fractures before they become chasms. It calls us back to responsibility, not in the sense of burden, but in the sense of power. What if each of us is a thread in the fabric of society, and by realigning ourselves with compassion, simplicity, and truth, we mend more than just our own lives? Just as a candle cannot burn without fire, men cannot live without a spiritual life, the Buddha once reflected. And perhaps this spiritual life is not about grand rituals, but about small moments of honesty, presence, and courage to face our own reflection. In modern life, it's easy to point fingers at governments, corporations, algorithms, but Vanga's mirror points back at us. It doesn't accuse, it invites. It asks, how have we contributed to the noise, the numbness, the neglect, and more importantly, how might we change? It is in the stillness, the silence beyond the newsfeed, where we begin to hear what's truly needed. Maybe it's kindness, maybe it's humility. Maybe it's the choice to listen before reacting, to help before judging, to breathe before speaking. These are not small things, they are revolutionary acts in a world teetering on the edge of forgetting. As Dogen, the founder of Soto Zen in Japan, once said, "To study the self is to forget the self. To forget the self is to be awakened by all things." And what are these mirrors, if not the many ways the world is trying to awaken us? So when Baba Vanga says, "They will come for answers, but they will only find mirrors," she is not being cruel or mysterious, she is being profoundly honest. The answers are not lost. They've simply moved inside. And it is time, perhaps more than ever, to gather the courage to look inward. In doing so, we may find that what we feared as collapse was really a shedding, a breaking open, a returning to what makes us human again. This is not the end, this is a turning. And you, dear listener, are part of it, not just as a witness, but as a participant. As the old Buddhist saying goes, with our thoughts, we make the world. So choose them wisely, walk gently, and when you stand before the mirror, don't turn away. Look deeply. That is where the new world begins. Number 8. Final message to the viewer. You are not powerless. These words might sound simple, but take a moment, really let them sink in. Too often, in a world full of noise and uncertainty, we forget the quiet strength within us. Baba Vanga's final message wasn't just a warning, it was a reminder that the future isn't set in stone. It's not a fate we passively await, it's a direction shaped by the choices we make now, in this very moment. She wasn't speaking only about the collapse of governments or systems, but something deeper, the collapse of connection, compassion, and truth in our everyday lives. What does it mean when we talk about society collapsing? Is it only about external structures breaking down, or is it also about what's happening within us when we become numb, disconnected, or fearful of being real in a world that often rewards the fake? Think about this. When was the last time you truly listened with empathy, not just with your ears, but with your heart? Baba Vanga's message is clear: we must reconnect with empathy, not just as a concept, but as a way of being. When we look at others, do we see their pain or just their opinions? Are we brave enough to see the truth, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it asks us to change? She called us to face truth even when it hurts, because only through truth can healing begin. Living authentically in a synthetic world isn't easy. It takes courage to be real, to strip away the masks, to speak honestly, and to act with compassion. But in doing so, we create a different kind of future, one that isn't controlled by fear or artificiality, but built on sincerity and heart. So I ask you now, what kind of world do you want to create, starting with your own life? What choices can you make today that move us closer to a world of understanding rather than division? Baba Vanga's message isn't just about prophecy, it's about awakening. And this awakening starts inside you, in the quiet moments where you choose honesty over comfort, kindness over indifference, and courage over conformity. If we wait for the world to change, we might wait forever. But if we change, the world around us cannot help but change too. The lesson here is powerful. You are not small. Your empathy matters. Your truth has weight. The future, no matter how dark it seems, still bends toward those who walk with light in their hearts. Reconnect with that light. Face what's real. Live in a way that reflects who you truly are, because the time has come not to fear the collapse, but to rise with purpose and rebuild with wisdom. So, as we stand at the edge of uncertainty, remember this. The collapse Baba Vanga spoke of is not just the breaking of system sits, the unveiling of truth. And within that truth lies a choice, to awaken, to reconnect, and to rise with wisdom rather than fall in fear. If her message stirred something in you, a quiet recognition, a deeper knowing, then don't let it fade. Let it move you to act. Begin with yourself, and from there, ripple outward with compassion, awareness, and courage. If you found value in this video, please like, share it with someone who needs to hear this, and subscribe to The Journey of Wisdom. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you won't miss our next exploration into forgotten truths and timeless insight. Thank you for walking this path with me. Until next time, breathe deeply, stay present, and choose wisdom.